Hey guys, so this video is over operations with functions and compositions of functions. Okay, so you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide functions together. So in this example, it says if f of x equals 3x minus 7 and g of x equals 13 minus 2x, find f of x plus g of x. So all we're doing is adding these two functions here together. So 3x minus 7 plus 13 minus 2x. Okay, so our f of x plus our g of x. Now, when you're adding together, the parentheses do not make a difference. All we have to do here is combine like terms. So 3x and negative 2x is x, and then negative 7 and 13 is 6. And that's our new answer. Okay, this new function is denoted as f plus g of x. So you're gonna see it written like this and not like that. Okay, all the different types of operations, sum, we have f plus g of x, which is just f of x plus g of x. Difference, f minus g of x, which is just f of x minus g of x. Product, f times g of x, which is f of x times g of x. And quotient, which is f divided by g of x, which is f of x divided by g of x. Okay, if we're given these functions right here, it says find each function and indicate any restrictions in the domain. Okay, well this says f plus g of x. That means we are adding our f of x and our g of x together. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to combine like terms because the parentheses do not make a difference here. So we don't have any other x squareds, so that x squared we're just going to pull down. We have negative x plus 4x, which is a negative 4x, and we have 4 and negative 3, which is a positive 1. Okay, and then it says indicate any restrictions in the domain. Well, this is a quadratic function, so there's not any restrictions, so our domain, so D is going to be all real numbers. And that's our answer. Okay. Number 2, this time we're doing f of x minus h of x. So f of x minus h of x. Okay. Now in this one, because it's subtraction, we have to distribute this negative through the second set of parentheses to start off with. Okay. This first set we can just pull down. Then we have negative times x is negative x. Negative times 2 is negative 2. Then from there, we want to combine like terms. So we have x squared. Negative 8x and negative x is negative 9x. 4 and negative 2 is a positive 2. Okay, once again, we have a quadratic function. So the domain is going to be all real numbers. Okay, number 3, this time we're multiplying h of x times g of x. Okay, so we just want to FOIL this. So x times 4x is 4x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. 2 times 4x is 8x. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Then we want to combine like terms. So we have 4x squared, negative 3x and 8x is a positive 5x, and then bring down that negative 6. So I have a quadratic function. So our domain is all real numbers. Okay, on the next one, we're dividing our f of x by our h of x. Okay, I don't want you to do anything other than that. So you don't have to simplify this down any. And actually, we don't even have numbers that multiply to give you 4 and add to give you negative 8. So there's not any simplifying to do on that. So that's your final answer right there. So then to indicate any restrictions in the domain, when you have a rational function like this, and rational just means that it's in a fraction format. When you have that, all you do to find the restrictions is you take the you take the denominator here and you set it equal to 0 to find the domain. Okay, so we have x plus 2 equals 0. So to solve for x, we subtract 2 over, and we have x equals a negative 2. Okay, because x equals a negative 2, that's going to be our vertical asymptote. Okay, and that's something that we may possibly get to later on. I don't know if we'll be able to get to it or not. But what that means is that our restrictions in our domain, you just say domain, you say x does not equal negative 2. And that's all you have to do. Okay, number 5. So h of x divided by g of x. So h of x divided by g of x. Okay, we can't simplify any further. So take your denominator and set it equal to 0. So 4x minus 3 equals 0. We want to add the 3 over and then divide by 4. So x equals 3/4. So our domain, x does not equal 3/4. And that's our answer. Okay, number 6, f of x times g of x. So this one times this one. So we want to FOIL like we did on number 3. So let's FOIL the x squared first. So x squared times 4x is 4x cubed. X squared times negative 3 is negative 3x squared. And we do the same thing with the negative 8x. Negative 8x times 4x is negative 32x squared. Negative 8x times negative 3 is a positive 24x. Then we do the 4. 4 times 4x is 16x. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Okay, now we want to combine like terms. So we don't have any other cubes, so we have 4x cubed. We have negative 3x squared, and negative 32x squared is negative 35x squared. 24x and 16x is 40x. And then we pull down that negative 12. Okay, as for the domain, we have a cubic function here. Okay, think back, we've already graphed cubic functions before, but a cubic function, just remember, looks like this. Okay, so for the domain, if we have an arrow going to the right, so it's going to hit all the values on the right side, and we have an arrow going to the left, so it's going to hit all the values on the left side. That means our domain is going to be all real numbers. So we say D, and then it's all real numbers. And that's our answer. Okay, so pretty much it's going to be always all real numbers unless you have a rational function like this and you take the denominator and set it equal to 0 and solve. Okay, let's flip over to the other side. All right, they gave us a new set of functions here. And this time they actually want us to find each function value. Okay, so when they give you a value like this, what you want to do is you want to find out what that value is for that function. So for the f of x function, we are plugging negative 2 in for the x values. Okay, so 2 times negative 2 squared minus negative 2 minus 12. So then you just want to type this in on your calculator and find out what that equals. And that is going to equal a negative 2. Then you do the same thing with the g. Okay, so negative 2 plus 7 is 5. Okay, then after you find out what those are, you want to go back and look at the operation. They want us to add these two values together. So negative 2 plus 5 equals 3, and 3 is our answer. Okay, number 8, same thing. So they want us to plug in 8 for the x values in the f function. Okay, so plug that in, and then we get 108. Okay, and then g, plug 8 in, so 8 plus 7 is 15. And we are subtracting f minus g. So f, which is 108, minus g, which is 15. Okay, and that's going to equal 93. On number 9, this time they want us to plug negative 1 in for the functions. So -1 in for the f function, and you're going to get -9. And then -1 in for the g function, and you're going to get 6. Okay, they want us to multiply the two together. So -9 times 6 is -54. Okay, and then the last one here, they want us to divide and they want us to plug 5 in. So 5 in for the f function is 33. And then 5 in for the g function is 12. And we are dividing here, so 33 divided by 12. And that does not simplify, so that is your final answer. Okay, the last section of our notes are compositions of functions. So it says another method to combine functions is called a composition. Given f of x and g of x, the composite function f of g of x is defined as, okay, it's defined as this right here, where the g of x takes the x value of the f function, okay? So what that means, on number 11, it says f of g of x, okay? So the second letter, that function is going to plug in for all of the x values in the first letter. So this g of x value right here is plugging in for the x value in the f function. So where that x is, we're going to put a parentheses and we're going to plug this in. So we say x minus 1, and then it's to the power of 3 plus 8. Okay, so then from there, we want to simplify it down. Okay, so x minus 1 to the power of 3. Okay, we need to multiply that out. So that turns into x minus 1 times x minus 1 times x minus 1. Okay, and then of course we still have our plus 8. But this part right here, we need to FOIL this out. So if we do x minus 1 times x minus 1, if you look on your reference sheet that's in your binder, that's like saying x minus 1 squared, okay? And what you do on that is you take the first term and you square it. So we have x squared. Then you take these two terms right here and multiply them together. So 1 times x is just x. And then you also multiply it times 2. So it's 2x. Okay, and the sign right here is always subtraction because it goes with it. It's that same sign right there. So minus 2x, and then you take the second term and you square it, which is 1. Okay, so that right there is just these two terms right here FOILed together. Now we still have to FOIL that with this x minus 1 right there. Okay, so we have x squared times x is x cubed. X squared times -1 is -x squared. -2x times x is -2x squared. -2x times -1 is a positive 2x. 1 times x is x. 1 times -1 is -1. And we still have that plus 8 we want to pull down. Okay, now to get our final answer, we want to combine like terms. Okay, we don't have anything to combine with the x cubed. We have -x squared and -2x squared is -3x squared. 2x and x is 3x. -1 and 8 is 7. And this right here is our final answer. Okay. On number 12, so you take the second letter, which is G, and you plug it in for the x value in the first letter. So we're plugging x minus 1 in for the x right here. So 5 times x minus 1, and then minus 3. Okay, so we want to distribute this. So 5 times x is 5x. 5 times -1 is -5, and then we have -3. Now we want to combine like terms. So we have 5x and -5 and -3 is -8. And that's our answer. Okay, on 13, so we're taking the h function and plugging it in for the x value of the f function. Okay, so just like we did up here, we need to FOIL it out. Okay, so we have 5x minus 3 times 5x minus 3 times 5x minus 3, and then we have plus 8. Okay, so these first two functions right here, we're going to do just like what we did up there. So you take the first term and you square it. So 5x squared is 25x squared. Then you multiply the two together, and 3 times 5x is 15x, and then you also want to multiply that times 2, so that's 30x. Then you take the second term and square that. 3 squared is 9. Okay, now we still need to multiply that times this part right here, times that 5x minus 3. Okay, so we have 25x squared times 5x is 125x cubed. 25x squared times negative 3 is negative 75x squared. Negative 30x times 5x is negative 150x squared. Negative 30x times negative 3 is a positive 90x. 9 times 5x is 45x. 9 times negative 3 is negative 27, and then pull down that plus 8. Okay, now we want to combine like terms. So we don't have any other cubes, so we pulled up 125x cubed up here. Negative 75x squared and negative 150x squared is negative 225x squared. 90x and 45x is 135x. Negative 27 and 8 is negative 19. And that is our final answer right there. Okay, 14. So this time you take the f function and you plug it in for the x value in the g function. Okay, so where that x is, we're going to plug in x cubed plus 8. And then we just do minus 1. Okay, now do these parentheses make a difference? No, because we're not multiplying anything times it. So you can just forget about that and just combine like terms. So it's really just 8 minus 1 is 7. So you have x cubed plus 7, and that's your answer. Okay, using the same functions above, find each function value. So we're combining what we did up here at the top and this part right here. So just like what we did up here, first we want to find what the functions are. So if we're plugging 2 in for the h function and solving that, so 5 times 2 is 10, 10 minus 3 is 7. And since we're also taking this the second function and plugging it in for the x value in the first function, now we're taking what we solved for the h of 2 right there, which is 7, and we're plugging it in for the x value in the g function. Okay, so that is just 7 minus 1, which is 6, and that is going to be your answer. Same thing over here. So this time we're plugging in negative 6 in for the f function to start off with. So we have negative 6 cubed plus 8 is negative 208. Okay, so now we're going to take that negative 208 and we're going to plug it in for the x value in the h function. So 5 times negative 208 minus 3 is negative 1,043. Okay, all right, so this is operations with functions and compositions of functions.